Hey everybody, it's Maeve here. I thought I'd just sit down and craft with you guys. Go ahead and grab a beverage, grab your coffee, tea, water, you know, sit down and enjoy some quality time with your founder here. And I thought, a more relaxed style tutorial would be more enjoyable. So, my little friend here, I decided to, work with him, and the frame I'm going to be using is a tutorial, one I learned from a tutorial from another artist that I love to follow, CSL Designs. I will link their tutorial in the description. Anyway, this is a frame I love to use for chunkier, cubey stones like this, because it just hugs the stone nice and flush. It's simple, and I can dress it up any which way that I like. This is a piece of light green serpentine. I like to call it by its other name, which is the infinity stone. It helps draw in good luck and prosperity. This is a design that allows you to use it as a pendulum, or you can unclip it and flip it over, and there's a bail. You can slip a cord or a chain through there and just wear it as a pendant. Then the chain here has moonstone and a howlite skull. So anyway, let's get started. Caffeinate, don't hate. I have about four pieces of 26 gauge copper wire here, and this is going to be the weaving wire that I use. I buy it in big spools from Parawire. You can also go to places like Rio Grande and buy it in bulk there as well. And my base wires are 18 gauge bare copper wire. I plan on oxidizing this piece later. Anyway, I'm going to start attaching my wire about 5 or 6 inches down, so I have enough room, so I have long enough pieces to, maybe do fancy details or do slightly more elevated bail. I like to give myself options. And then I'll leave myself a good long tail for weaving or, securing a bail. And then I'm just gonna wrap this about 3 or 4 times. I'm going to attach 2 wires the same direction, same way, on one base wire. And squish down my wraps and make sure they're nice and tight. Set that aside. I'm really grateful for those who volunteered their input on the survey. You know, kudos to the creators who can produce these wonderful tutorials in 15 seconds or less. I find that to be pretty amazing, that they can pack in all that information and still have it be successful. Honestly, I feel more comfortable with traditional long-form content myself. I feel like I have to rush quite a bit, and I feel like some of the magic is lost when I'm trying to edit it all down to 15 seconds or less, TikTok style. Now I'm just going to grab our first wire here and line them up and separate out the tails. There we go. We have 2 weaving wires on each base wire, all lined up. The tails are out of the way. Now, this particular frame is inspired by a tutorial from another artist I love to follow, CSL Designs. I'll link their tutorial in the description. The difference in mine is how I finish, honestly. So I'm going to take my stone and reference it against the width of my little friend here. And the challenge to this is maintaining the same width throughout the weave, because naturally, as you progress, the wires are going to want to bend in towards each other. So I'm going to take the bottom wires here, this one, and I'm going to go in between and around. The beginning is always the hardest in most wire weaving projects. But I'm going to weave about 6 times. Make sure my wraps are nice and tight. Then I'm going to grab the other wire, the top right wire, and I will cross it over, bring it down. Now you can do as many or as little, as few wraps as you like in this particular frame. It all depends on how fat or skinny you want your X's to be. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. We have 6. And you're left with 4 wires on each side again. I'm going to repeat the process. I'm going to adjust the first little X here. Actually, what I'm going to do, I think I want some more space in between my X's. Never be afraid to undo a project if it's not turning out like you had hoped. Great thing about the wire from Parawires, it's fairly durable and it can take a lot of guff from the hands who are holding it. So essentially I'm kind of starting over. So I'm not entirely used to doing this on camera. But hopefully you've been having a good morning so far and it's been peaceful. There we go. Once you get going with this, it gets easier down the road. Sometimes it just takes a few deep breaths, and sometimes we need to restart, but that's okay. Sometimes, as some of you may know, that sometimes that's how the happiest accidents occur. So I'm going to take this bottom wire here, bring it up and through our base wires, and then I will probably wrap about 12 times this time. This particular frame teaches you how to relax too. Naturally, I like to weave very tight, and I've always been like that ever since I was a child. When I first learned to start knitting, I used to knit so tight, the stitches were so tight that at some points I could hardly get them off the knitting needle, and I'd be stuck with a needle full of ridiculously tight stitches. And then I'd have to cut the yarn off and start all over. 10, 11, and 12. You also want to make sure that when you wrap, the wire doesn't become, doesn't get, that the wraps don't start stacking on top of each other, and you end up with something similar to, you end up something like that, like this. Just, here we go, let me see. Instead of having them nice and tighten side by side like this, you end up with something similar to this. And we want our wraps to be nice and neat. I often default to using my nails, but you can also use pliers. Just squeeze things together and keep your wraps nice and neat. I'm going to just separate out the wires here. Keep them from tangling as best that I can. That forms the first part of our first X. Here we go with the finishing it. I'm just straightening out my wire here. Bring it down, around, and wrap it around the base wire 12 times. I'm going to be doing this pattern for about 2 inches, and I'll probably keep this pendant somewhat simple. It has a very strong energy about it, a lot of soul. It doesn't seem to really want anything overly fancy or overdone. And 90% of some of my projects are sitting and meditating with them. Sometimes I'll get to a point in the project where I will run out of inspiration and I'll need to set it down and I'll need to stop and meditate with it again until a fresh idea from spirit pops into my head, or the wire tells me where it wants to go. Because sometimes there have been times where I have sketched out a design, and as soon as I go to do it, the wire tells me it wants to do something completely different. So we have our first X formed. And the wire, copper is very malleable, so your base wires will probably need to just be straightened and tidied up occasionally as you weave, especially if you're fairly nervous like I am. So I'm just going to be repeating the same pattern. And then don't hesitate to reference back to your stone to make sure you're maintaining enough width here. And it looks like I'm, of course, starting to weave a little on the tighter side. Luckily, this particular frame is very forgiving if you weave it slightly too tight, because it's fairly flexible and holds the stone nice and tight, but doesn't interfere with the stone's beauty. I'm just pulling it apart and trying to keep it loose and wide enough for my stone, and wandering out of frame. I appreciate all the patience and all the new members. I'm really excited to see what Otherkin Jewel's Grotto is going to evolve into. But yeah, honestly, unless you're blessed with the bandwidth to kind of pre-plan and design, to design and sketch your projects out. I lost what I was going to say. Mom brain. Anyways, I think what I was about to say was, kudos to those who can sit down, sketch out, kind of pre-plan their designs. Oftentimes with my pieces, it's a case of, oh, an idea popped into my head. Let's sit down and think about it. And then I'll pick up the wire and kind of start fiddling with it and listening to kind of what it wants to do. And same with the stone. Sometimes I will make the mistake of trying to force a design onto a stone, and it doesn't want to be a part of that particular design. See, now we have 2 X's. So yeah, point being, 90% of wire wrapping sometimes is just stopping, thinking, listening to what the stone and the wire want to do with each other. See how they want to co-create and become a beautiful piece of treasure. Sometimes it's also a beautiful exercise in just surrendering. What are you all working on? And don't be afraid to share some of your crafts and, what's going on in your life. How are you doing? How your holidays are going. Hopefully you are taking some time out for yourselves and stepping back from the hustle and bustle of holiday shopping. Because I know how stressful that can get, especially if you have to go to the post office. Rowan is upstairs with the folks right now. They usually will watch her until about noonish. Last night my husband and I got to spend some time alone. Watch a little anime, relax, and Rowan got to have a sleepover with her grandparents. And she loves it. I love my little girl. She's definitely a social butterfly. She's gonna help push her mom outside her comfort zone. But thankfully I have quite a bit of Sagittarius in my astrology chart myself, so it won't be a total shock to the system when she gets older and starts bringing home her friends. And my goal is to be a mom that she doesn't feel afraid to bring her friends home to and share her social life with. Oops. The wire grabbed my crow feather. My workspace is also my vanity and place where I also put on makeup and just self-care things. My desk, I got it when I was a child, and it was it's one of those things, one of those pieces that I'll probably hold on to for the rest of my life and try and pass on down to Rowan when she's older and needs a desk. My father, he spent a few days varnishing this for me. And it's just one of those precious memories, one of those things that I hold near and dear to my heart. I came from Southern California, by the way. My parents still live down there. I'm definitely looking forward to us getting our own house so I can create a separate crafting area and not have it be shared with my skincare, makeup, and I also have a mini altar here set up. You know the Buzz Lightyear meme, where he's sticking out his hand. Sometimes it's an old meme, so may have slipped out of collective memory, but I've seen memes where Buzz Lightyear's going, hair ties everywhere. Anyway, I was thinking making one that says altars everywhere, because I literally will set up a little altar of some kind on any kind of free space, because I love being surrounded by crystals and deities, gifts of feathers, things like that. Things like that put a smile on my face and help me relax and add to the overall atmosphere, positivity, and help bring in the blessings into my home. And of course, let's not forget books. Books are a must. So, here are 3 X's so far. Let's see. I'm going to get out my little tape measure here and just to see exactly how much farther we have to go. So it looks like about maybe 3-4 more X's, and then I'm gonna call it good and capture my little dragon blood friend here and probably call it a day. Or take a break for a little bit, I should say. It's also laundry day, but Rowan, I usually pick up Rowan from the folks around noonish. So yeah, today's laundry day, and last night I got the idea to just invite you guys to hang out, maybe try and have a little bit more of a relaxed style of tutorial versus versus trying to cram it in and all in 15 seconds. So what kind of music do you like to listen to while you craft? Right now I have some binaural beats going on in the background. This one is for prosperity and success. You know, so usually in my projects, I also am mindful of in my weaving. Usually, I will subconsciously slip into doing particular weaving patterns in multiples of 3 or sets of 3. For me, 3 is a lucky number, and it's kind of a family number, family lucky number. I see 333 quite a bit. Yeah, it looks like yeah, that looks about right. It's gonna be a little tight, but we'll make it work. This is probably was to be expected. I'm not exactly the most fluid or comfortable on camera, so to speak. I excel in writing, but I have a feeling over time, the longer I hang out with you guys like this, the more comfortable I'll start becoming speaking on camera. Whoops. almost started on the next wrap before I finished the last one. Oh wait, never mind. Just to give you an idea of how we're progressing here. You also don't have to make a huge investment in a bulk spool of wire. Artistic wire does just fine for beginning. Just it's great for just, you know, if you want to just dip your toes into wire wrapping. I just find it's not as soft and malleable and nice to work with as just as regular copper is. Hopefully you guys are enjoying yourselves, and this is a better format for just a laid-back tutorial hangout type of a thing. You know, maybe one day I will just sit down and do this live instead of recording a video. That way, if I happen to be live while any of you are bouncing around on the internet, and you come in and say hi, it probably won't be nearly as awkward as just sitting and talking to my phone and talking to myself out loud. That's what I have so far. Looks like it's about noon, so I'm gonna go ahead, stop here for now, and I look forward to, you know, hearing from you in the comments and hearing your thoughts, and I'll talk with you guys later, okay? Bye!